The Ford Endeavour returns with its mid-cycle facelift. We drive it. An exclusive look at the facelift on the Maruti Suzuki Baleno. And speaking of exclusives, the petrol variant of the Mahindra XUV300. It is a brand new week, so a brand new episode of CNB here on the NDTV network. My name is Siddharth and we have an action-packed lineup. I say that often, but today it's really true. And it's all on four wheels, so let's get straight into it. The first story I want to give you is an exclusive, one of two. This is the petrol variant of this car. No one else has driven it yet, and there's a lot of curiosity around it. All questions shall be answered. Undoubtedly, the hottest segment in the Indian automobile scene is the subcompact SUV, and the latest entrant to that space is this, the Mahindra XUV300. It's certainly a car that's shaking things up. It's going to establish new benchmarks. We're very happy with a lot that it offers, and in fact, we've shown you that in great detail in our review and also our special web series that takes you through various highlights and aspects of this car. Now, this is the car that we've shown you before, this one, because it's aquamarine, two-tone diesel engine variant. When the prices were announced, Mahindra said, be cautious because don't start thinking immediately about stripped down entry prices. Our cars come fairly well loaded even at the base variant, and which is why everybody was happy when they said prices start at 7,90,000 rupees. Of course, this one, with everything, all the bells and whistles, goes upwards of almost 11.5 lakh rupees. So, what's the point I'm trying to make? That if you compare to the Vitara Brezza that starts at about 7,70,000, is it a fair comparison? Because 7,90,000 for that, well, we're talking petrol variants. So, it was very crucial then to finally get our hands on the petrol, and that is what I have here with me exclusively. Very first look at the petrol XUV300. This is the DSAT Silver, and no dual tone roof, but I can tell you a lot of anticipation still, because the whole point is petrol or diesel doesn't matter. At that price, would this car then be an attractive buy? That's what I'm here to find out. Okay, so many of you would be rolling your eyes and saying, of course, petrol and diesel matter. But with the growing doubts over the future of diesel, having the petrol is necessary. It may not account for the bulk of sales, but that is now a fairly significant chunk that is starting to show up. So, first order of business, a look at what's under the hood. And yes, ladies and gents, I am skipping past telling you about this car's looks, its features and trim, because this is the top-end W8 with the option pack, and feature for feature, it is exactly like the diesel that we have reviewed. So for those of you who don't know what all that means, please go and watch or read our review on carandbike.com already. So back to business. The XUV300 Turbo Petrol has a 1.2-litre engine with 110 bhp on tap, and if you like that number, the torque at 200 Nm will make you even happier. Now on paper, it promised the best figures in the entire segment. I wasn't quite convinced till I actually got down to driving it, because we were also told that yes, this is the same engine that first went into the KUV, though with a whole lot of changes and much more refinement than before. Yes, I was the skeptic. I have to tell you, I am completely surprised by what I have seen today. Now, let me break it down for you. At lower RPMs and lower gears, yes, you might find initial acceleration is not as electric as you'd like. There's nothing sort of lacking. You won't find it underpowered in any way, but you don't get that instant burst from get-go. However, the minute the turbocharger kicks in, it's a whole different ball game. Things get nice and exciting. So cruising speeds and just gliding through at reasonably higher speeds an absolute pleasure. And I think that's of course coupled with the fact that, as I've said before, this particular platform, this new car, it gives you just excellent ride quality. It gives you a really nice assured handling. And then you've got this little gimmick which actually works well, where you can stiffen up the steering. So yes, I've put it into sport mode, and yes, I've had quite a lot of fun. The real gem is that ride quality. You get an assured, comfortable yet stiff ride which is complemented by the right suspension to take on smooth cruising and potholes quite well. Very comfortable drive as well in this car, and even in city traffic, just that ample torque will show through because you don't have to do frequent gear changes. The gearbox itself is nicely mated to it, it works quite well. Though I have to say that going by how I have experienced this today, this particular combination, the drivetrain, I think it's going to lend itself beautifully to the AMT, maybe more so than the diesel in many ways. And given the ample torque, when there's 200 Nm of peak torque that kicks in as low as 2000 RPM, I have a feeling that many people are going to find this actually possibly the better buy. I mean, you may not really want to buy the diesel after you test drive the petrol. Whoa, did I just say that? Yes, all that juicy torque is just too delicious to pass up. While no official figures are available, we also reckon mileage is good on the petrol and diesel 300. Expect real-world figures of around 16 kilometers per litre for the petrol. Also good. And the prices are pretty good too, given that there is no real base variant. So what's missing? Automatic. Data suggests the petrol buyer is also veering towards automatic, so not having the AMT soon will start to hurt Mahindra. And lastly, I have to grudgingly admit, the car looks good in this DSAT silver. It also looks a bit bigger in this shade, but the gloss and sheen on some of the other vibrant colors is better. The petrol variants of the XUV300 are priced between 7,90,000 and 11,49,000 rupees ex-showroom. That is the XUV300 in its petrol avatar, and we move swiftly to the next story, which again evokes a lot of curiosity. It's also an SUV, the big brutish kind. This is the facelift on the Ford Endeavour. It was expected, and we managed to have some fun with it. Session spent time with it on the sand dunes near Jaisalmer.
When Ford launched the third generation Endeavour back in 2016, it was a big step up from the older model. The SUV was bigger, butcher, capable and more feature-packed, and was quite well received in the Indian market because Ford managed to sell over 19,000 units in the country. Of course, more needed to be done to bring it up to par with the current and more updated rivals.
Yes, after 3 years, Ford has finally launched a facelift for its much-loved Endeavour. This 2019 model comes in a new colour and some considerable amount of updates both outside as well as inside. And we are going to take you through them.
On the outside, you get a chunky new chrome grille, which is accompanied by a new skid plate that now extends to house the fog lamps and air intakes. The Endeavour also gets a set of new 18-inch alloy wheels and an all-new diffused silver body color. Other exterior elements like projector headlamps with LED daytime running lamps, ORVMs, LED tail lamps and the rear bumper have been carried over from the previous model. There are updates made to the cabin too. The SUV now gets an engine start-stop button, 8-way adjustable power seats for the driver and 6 airbags as standard across all variants. You get an additional knee airbag and power seat for front passenger in the top-end model, which is powered by the 3.2-litre engine. Visually, the 7-seater cabin remains unchanged, offering the same beige and black dual-tone interior. It's equipped with premium leather upholstery, dual zone climate control, rear AC vents and third row seats with power fold function. All of this is standard. The top spec Titanium Plus trim also gets soft touch IP dashboard and a panoramic sunroof. Ford has also introduced hands-free power liftgate as standard, which allows you to open or close the tailgate by simply waving your foot below the rear bumper. Something that's not unfamiliar to us, but we are glad it's now on the Endeavour. It also gets a semi-auto parallel park assist function that searches for a space and parks the SUV all by itself. Furthermore, the Endeavour also continues to come with an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system powered by Ford's Sync 3, which features Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
Now under the hood, this updated 2019 Ford Endeavour comes with the same 3.2-litre engine as the previous one. The power figures are also same at 197 bhp and 417 Nm of peak torque. The motor comes mated to a 6-speed automatic gearbox and it also gets 4x4.
Mechanically, the SUV remains unchanged, but we got a feel of the car on regular roads as well as on the sand dunes. This is where the Endeavour's terrain management system came in handy. The system offers 4 modes: road, sands, snow or mud, and rock. In sand mode, the terrain management system increases the throttle response in order to gain more traction. And it does a pretty good job. And all this became very evident when we got behind the wheel. The system quite literally takes care of everything and you simply have to guide it with mild steering input. But it's important to know when to floor the accelerator and when to take it easy. Else, you might just sink the wheels. The massive size of the Endeavour was quite intimidating on the single-lane roads of Jaisalmer, leading all the way to the sand dunes. But it's perfectly at home on the highways. The suspension, assisted by a locking differential, can handle the worst potholes on the road with great ease. The 6-speed torque converter takes some time getting used to. While initially it does feel like the shifts are delayed, has a way of adapting to your driving style. And as you keep on driving, it starts to feel a bit more precise. Having said that, the facelifted version continues to come without paddle shifters, which we would have preferred at least as an option. Of course, there's a 2.2-litre diesel as well on offer, and that churns out 148 brake horsepower and develops 385 Nm of peak torque. This time, Ford is bringing in the option of a 6-speed manual gearbox, which is in addition to the automatic unit, but it's only with the 4x2 variant. Ford is offering the SUV in 2 variants: Titanium, which only gets the 2.2-litre engine with the manual gearbox, and Titanium Plus, that gets both the 2.2-litre and the 3.2-litre motor, which is mated to an automatic transmission. The Titanium Plus trim comes with a ton of features. That said, the Titanium variant is not really a bad trade-off, considering most of the new and updated features we spoke about are offered as standard fitment. Priced from 28,19,000 rupees to 32,97,000 rupees ex-showroom Delhi, the 2019 model is now cheaper than the pre-facelift Endeavour, making it a strong value proposition. Also, with the revised prices, it now sits between the newly launched Mahindra Alturas G4 and the segment leader Toyota Fortuner, making life difficult for both these competitors.
Welcome back. You are watching CNB. I promised you 2 exclusives at the start, and so we get to the second one now. This is the Baleno. Yes, it's another facelift, but it is the mighty Baleno, the segment bestseller. It returns now with a refresh. There are a few new additions and one very significant one on the inside. I have all the details for you now. The Maruti Suzuki Baleno may have been around since October 2015, but there is no slowing down this premium hatchback. An absolute bestseller for Maruti, the Baleno has averaged sales of 17,000 units the past 6 months alone. So I have to say that there was clearly no pressing need to rush in a facelift, especially given Maruti's usual life cycles on its premium products. Just look at the Ciaz. And the fact that any new competition like the Kia Rio and Tata X451, for instance, are still far away. The Baleno outsells the current rivals like the Hyundai i20, average sales of 12,000 units a month, the Volkswagen Polo, average sales of 1,400 units a month, and the Honda Jazz, that's about 1,200 units a month, by many a mile. It was at the very end of the first month of this new year that Maruti Suzuki unleashed the facelifted Baleno on us. Yes, it was through an innocuous press release, no big drives or launch events. But now that you get the context, you will understand why it was important to bring you this review, because we still think it's a very big deal. The best-selling car in the premium hatchback space gets a facelift, and we simply cannot ignore it. Now, the Baleno's facelift is not one of those that screams at you. It's not major, but it's significant enough, and I have to say, it makes the car look a little bit more upmarket. Now, this is the top-end trim, no doubt about it. You do get the new alloy pattern, 16-inch wheels, really smartly done. It's two-tone, and then the big change is in the face, where the layout remains the same in terms of the headlamp and the chrome, but you got a completely new pattern in the front grille, and the whole idea from Maruti is to try and make the car look a little bit wider. Does it? Well, you got to decide that and also react to it. This color is Nexa Blue, of course, the positioning color for all Nexa cars, but there are two new colors. There's a red and a grey, and then there are some changes on the inside. Those smoked dual-tone alloy wheels really do stand out. And yes, like I said, the car with me is the Nexa Blue, which I do think looks best on it. I'm biased, of course. Now, the changes on the inside, like I promised. When you step into the cabin, you will straight away get the sense that it is new, it is refreshed, because primarily of that. It's not just the layout, it's also just the fact that it all looks a little bit more sophisticated now in terms of colors, materials, and overall look. Yeah, I do like the way it's been put together. And then the big difference, which is Smart Play Studio. The interface on that touchscreen has completely changed now. Yes, we got it on the WagonR first, but of the Nexa products, the Baleno is the first one to get it. It's a big deal because it's a much nicer to use interface. It's easier to read, and the layout is much nicer too. And like I said, we've shown it to you on the WagonR, so I won't go on about it. You can hear the system beeping when I touch all the various functions and features. And of course, it also gives you some interesting trip information like fuel economy, driving range, etc. Nice graphics, different interface. And then of course, you've also got an update on the seat fabric. Very Nexa again. It's been finished in this sort of geometrical or diamond-like pattern in a nice dark blue. In keeping with the appeal that Nexa products are meant to deliver, the cabin will come across as subtle, premium, and overall a bit better finished than before, even though the layout and design remains largely unchanged. The new interface does help make the car appear a bit more contemporary, though remember that touchscreen is only available on the Zeta and Alpha, the top two trims. The same goes for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto too, as well as the Smart Play Studio navigation. Out on the road, you will find no changes at all, since the Baleno has remained the same mechanically. The car with me is the CVT Auto option on the 83 bhp 1.2 petrol. As before, you can opt for manual as well, of course. The good old 1.3 litre 74 bhp diesel is still available with only
the 5-speed manual gearbox. Ride quality has been the Achilles heel on this car for me and still remains so. Handling and acceleration also remain unchanged. Prices start at 5,45,000 rupees for the manual petrol Sigma variant at the base and go up to 8,77,000 for the top-end petrol CVT Alpha, which I am driving today. These prices are ex-showroom, of course. The Baleno remains a crucial and relevant model for both Maruti and the market, and so this upgrade will certainly create a flutter. Expect the now aging i20 and Jazz to also fire up some new bits, especially given that they have both already received their respective facelifts in the first half of 2018. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the newcomers expected to arrive by later this year and early 2020 should then cause some more excitement. But the mighty Baleno juggernaut will roll on, no doubt. The car looks more assured, packs in a bit more on the feature list and becomes therefore even more relevant for the 2019 premium hatchback buyer.
The Maruti Suzuki Baleno facelift, the Ford Endeavour facelift and the petrol variant of the XUV300. You've got to react to all of that. You know how you can get in touch with me. Any suggestions that you have in terms of what you'd like to see on the show? Also, most welcome and plenty to look forward to. It's going to be an action-packed month, folks, that's coming up. So you've got to stay tuned to us. Also got to wear your seatbelts or your helmets. Bye-bye.